We are making some big, these are battery cables. This one is particularly is for the...
This one's going to go from the battery disconnect to the solenoid.
Okay. So this is 1/0?
1/0 cable, and we have 1/0 lugs. If you're going to build your own cables, make sure you get the ones that are enclosed.
Yeah,
and that way whenever you heat shrink it, the cable's sealed and won't deteriorate with time.
Yeah. So you get this thing...
Stripped back to the length you need. For this,
which is
about an inch.
Yeah, about an inch. And then you pull that out.
Pull that out. You'll cut off a few strands, but that's not going to
twist the wire. And that's
so
long
that's
enough.
The cable. Now you got to put your heat shrink tubing on.
So this is also, what size of heat shrink tubing is this? You know?
I think this is 1 inch. Could be wrong.
So then this gets pulled over the cable itself. And the reason why we're doing all this, we're trying to make this much better cables than what we're on here. So we put that on, again, take the copper wire and twist it, and then feed the lug on. And then we're also going to crimp it, so we're going to it's going to be shrink tubed, it's going to be crimped. This is a hydraulic crimper.
Yeah, you can get these. I think I bought this for like $45 on eBay.
So it's pretty, that's cheap.
I think we had to put different fluid in it. I got my glove card in there. And make sure you get it to the spot you want.
You just pretty much just crimp down.
Now I'll get to a certain point and I'll put it on the ground and use my body weight.
Oh, and really crimp it. So we want to make sure that these connections never, ever, ever come off. And that right there probably would have been fine. However, we are going to solder this thing also. So
this is Kester solder, 60/40.
So 60%, do you know?
Oh, it was labeled on here. This is rosin core.
Yeah, rosin core. So this also has the flux in it, which is really nice. So we're using MAP gas to heat this up.
Works really quickly.
I would like to try propane. See how well that does.
You can do it with propane, it's just slower.
Yeah, it's going to take longer because it doesn't heat up as fast. So we're feeding the solder in between the jacketing as well as the connection. So just feeding it in through there, and it's a pretty simple setup. Feed it in, and how many feet of that stuff did you say you used?
I think I used about 5 feet, 5 or 10 feet.
So again, this is the real thin stuff, and it's not thick, obviously. So it takes a lot of feeding and whatnot to get it to, to actually solder anything. But what's really nice with this stuff is it melts pretty easily because it's thin. But you just feed that in, and you kind of want all of the copper wire to be covered in solder, and you just kind of keep feeding it in, and it'll eventually fill that cavity up in there. Now obviously this thing cools down, so what you'll have to do is reheat it every once in a while. But since you have a decent sized mass right here, it will stay, once you heat it up, it will stay hot for quite a while. And you will have to kind of switch sides and whatnot. I would like to do this when
There's a chunk of solder that fell off.
Oh, nice.
Cable's getting quite warm. That's probably going to be good enough.
So that's MAP gas, and I would like to try propane on this at some point. So now that that is
on, we have to let it cool, because we don't
Yeah.
want to burn the heat shrink.
Yeah, that'll burn the heat shrink pretty easily, and we're going to let this thing cool down. The last step in making one of these cables is to slide the heat shrink tubing over it to just try to seal everything up. And we're just using I think that's a 1500 watt Craftsman heat gun.
Goes up to about 1,000 degrees on the high setting.
And you pretty much just melt the shrink tubing down and make sure it's tight on both ends, make sure there's no gap, as long as you bought the proper heat shrink tubing. So, you know, it definitely takes a little bit of time to do this, but it is pretty easy, and pretty much anyone can do it. This is much better than using a soldering iron. Using a torch is really the way to go. So, well, there you go. That's it right there, is how you solder cables and put a good end on it and seal it up with the heat shrink tubing. So, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.